One of the things that has really upset me is even if the mini-budget made mistakes, I felt for the first time in nearly 40 years we had a Prime Minister and a Chancellor trying to reduce the size of a state, trying to reduce the tax we all pay. And Liam Halligan, GBNews' economics editor, it's all gone, isn't it?
I think so. I think the chances are, amidst this maelstrom, that Jeremy Hunt will remain Chancellor. Jeremy Hunt, who basically seems to put the Prime Minister into special measures, like some kind of Ofcom inspector, reversing a lot of the mini-budget. And I think, the corporation tax will go up to 25%, unfortunately. I think that will hammer lots of small businesses who have had a hard time during lockdown. We don't know if the triple lock is going to be maintained for pensioners. Of course, that was a promise that Liz Truss made yesterday. Yeah. So there are lots of things that are uncertain, but I don't think we're going to get back to this lower tax agenda. And let's be clear, Nigel, the mini-budget, it was hardly some kind of radical, extreme set of measures. It was an attempt to lower the total tax burden, the share of our economy that's taken by tax, from a 70-year high to 0.5% lower. It was not a particularly extreme set of measures, though there were mistakes in the messaging and the timing, as we've discussed.
Yeah, and the presentation. Well, let's get some views on local business. Martin Hayes he's a home travel agent. Martin, let's get the microphone to you. And it interests me, this, because during the pandemic, nobody that works in the public sector paid any price at all. They all kept their jobs.
Full pay.
They worked from home, pensions intact, the weather was lovely, drinking beer in the garden. Yeah. It's not all bad, but people out there in private business paid a hell of a price. How was the pandemic for you?
The pandemic was disastrous because obviously I'm in travel, and for the past 2 years there has been no travel. Now there is a pent-up demand for travel. People are waiting to get away desperately. But what do we have now? We have the exchange rates, particularly in the USA, which is one of our major markets, which is going to affect us dramatically. Also, airfares, because of oil prices, is another thing that's really going to affect us. We thought we were going to have a very good year. Now we're not so sure.
When you look at the Conservative Party, which had a reputation of being the party of business and the party of small business, I'm not so sure it is anymore. Would you fear a Labour government?
Very much.
Would you?
Yes, I would.
Why is that?
Well, because I don't believe in a lot of their policies. I voted Conservative because I thought they were going to look after small businesses like myself.
Have they?
They've let us down.
Yeah.
They've let us down.
Yeah.
But I'm very scary and very wary of a Labour government coming in.
OK, Martin, thank you very much indeed. This point, Liam, about small businesses. So you run a small business, the local laundrette pays corporation tax. That tax is going up 30%. It's going from 19p in the pound to 25p in the pound, and that ain't going to be reversed. Company directors pay themselves in dividends. That tax is going up by 1.25%. Plus, we've got the IR35 rules, which make it very difficult for independent contractors. I felt what Hunt said last week, or earlier this week, was virtually a war against the self-employed.
It was definitely anti-enterprise. Firstly, just to say how fantastic it is to be outside of the Westminster bubble on a night like today. talking to and hearing from the real people who make the UK economy tick, that create the wealth upon which everything else depends. Of course, lockdown was disastrous for so much of the private sector. Public sector folk, they got their full pay and they weren't paying on their trains to commute. They were saving lots of money and racking up their holiday entitlements and so on. Average private sector pay now is below average public sector pay, something that you very rarely hear. And, of course, the people in the gig economy, the small contractors, people running businesses, trying to do the best for themselves and their families, not drawing benefits, they are being hammered by these measures. The IR35 is a disaster for the gig economy. It's counter to those small, self-employed, mum-and-pop enterprises that keep our economy moving, that count, Nigel, for almost two-thirds of our employment, small and medium-sized enterprises.
I mean, Martin was concerned about a Labour government, but frankly, under Keir Starmer, would their economic policies be any different?
Well, I have to say, we can talk about Labour, but Labour have come up with a plan. Of course, it's not fully costed because it's easy to say what you want in opposition, but at least they're making noises. about reforming business rates. For a lot of businesses, they have to pay a tax on the value of their physical assets, even if they rent their premises, but it's counter to them investing. It detracts from them investing and building up productivity and increasing their output, because they then have to pay a sort of permanent annual tax on all their machinery.
So Labour are potentially scoring a little bit of a goal.
I think the Tories need to be really careful. They've been complacent under the likes of Jeremy Corbyn and John McDonnell, but Rachel Reeves, the Shadow Chancellor, is not John McDonnell. A lot of business people would think that she's quite credible.
And Keir Starmer is not Jeremy Corbyn.
And he's not as scary as Jeremy Corbyn. It's a low bar.
Yeah.
You know, I still think in my bones that Keir Starmer is more Kinnock than Blair. I don't think Labour have found the kind of very charismatic politician with electricity who can really command a majority across middle England, as you have to do to win an election in this country. But there may be someone in the wings. The Tories certainly have to be very, very careful about a 1997 moment. We may feel in this room that they deserve it, but I don't think it's there yet.
Well, Martin's point was he felt let down by the Conservatives. Going to go to Mark Wools. Mark, you know, your family have had businesses in Deal for 70 years. How's this government been? How's the pandemic been for you in business? Where is he?
Yes, I feel like the businesses at the moment, it's like an apple. Mm-hmm. So the Tory party are having more than nibbles at it. They're having big bites at it. So we've got corporation tax going up. We've got VAT. We've got the rates. Everything's stacked against us at the moment. There'll be nothing left for us for the working. So we run the businesses for nothing in the end. We employ staff. We've been in Deal for 60 years. We've put money back into the town. How are we going to carry on doing that if they keep taking everything out of the business?
What do you want to see from a Conservative government?
We need to get our taxes down.
Right.
And then we can invest. I don't know what to invest next year. I don't know what the taxes are. They're changing it every other week.
Yeah.
You know, till we know what our taxes are going to be, we've got no leader telling us. We need a leader that tells us now.
Well, we need a leader that stays there more than 44 days. Some would argue.
I mean, we've done 60 years, not 44 days.
Very good. So, a plea there from Mark, Liam. Is there any prospect that Mark's going to get what he wants? Let's say... Now, Boris Johnson, as we speak, folks, is on an aeroplane back from the Caribbean, and he may well chuck his name in the hat to be leader. Is there any prospect that Boris Johnson wins, is Mark going to get what he wants and lower business taxes? He's not, is he?
Well, I think listening to Mark, you realise it hits you smack between the eyes as the Westminster politicians play parlour games, scrapping over the top job, trying to wring a bit more prestige out of their particular position. Meanwhile, ordinary men and women are trying to make ends meet, trying to build wealth in local communities. I don't think Boris Johnson is a particularly pro-business Conservative.
Didn't he famously...
And I don't even think that Jeremy Hunt is, even though he's run a business. But people who come from a big sort of corporate background, they don't understand the instincts and the struggles of the small and medium-sized businesses which basically drive the British economy forward.
There's almost nobody sitting in Parliament that set up and run a small family business.
Very, very few people. And that shows. And that's why they're so out of touch with what ordinary men and women want. Look, small business owners, people who work in small businesses, they're the ultimate pragmatic swing voters. They don't really mind who's in power. They're not politically tribal. They don't obsess over politics. They just want somebody who can lead, and they want some kind of stability. The country's screaming for stability. And if the Conservatives can't provide stability, what are they for?
Well, absolutely. Maybe this is where this new party comes in, you see. Someone that does act... No, but I mean it. Someone that stands up for the millions.
You sound like you're trying to convince yourself.
No, well, I probably am.
I mean, we can reverse this interview if you like.
No, I've already been given a very tough time, don't worry. Breaking news, 33 members of Parliament have said they want to support Boris Johnson, and 27 so far, Rishi Sunak. So we'll see... Oh.
It's like being at a pantomime, isn't it? Behind you!
Yeah. It's just that GBNews, the tickets are cheaper, that's all. And how many? 10 for Penny Mordaunt. So that's where we are at the moment. Boris Johnson, so Rishi, clearly, how many of you think it would be right, I'll see your hands up on this job, would be right for Boris Johnson to resume the Prime Ministership? How many think that's a good idea?
Not many.
Very. That is now that.
2 or 3.
Now that is fascinating.
Yeah.
That is
I
fascinating.
expected more, I must say.
That is fascinating. So basically, what the Deal audience are telling us is that Boris has blown it with the electorate. They want stability. They want someone who stands up for the little guy. And if Boris doesn't get it, it's going to be Rishi. And they don't like Rishi.
So who do they want?
So no, shut up, you. But that was very interesting.
Yeah.
I was expecting a very different response. Any more thoughts? Anyone else in the audience want to chip in on business, taxes, the size of a state? Anybody else with some big thoughts? Gentleman here. Very well-dressed gentleman.
Thank you. I came dressed for the occasion. I haven't lived in Deal very long. I've only lived in 2.5 years, but I've seen the Deal runs on small businesses. There's so many littered up the high street, all down around here. And I think if we don't get a government who supports the little guy, as you said, and they do support the government, and they support the rich and the wealthy.
And the big businesses.
The big businesses like Tesco and Sainsbury's.
Yep.
If they are the ones that get the tax cuts and not the people like us, little businesses are gone, and it's just the big corporations that run the entire market.
I'm absolutely with you. And for those at home who don't know, Deal had a very tough time when the mines closed in the late 80s. And I know this town quite well. And suddenly, from nothing, it's flourished. It's won High Street of the Year, I think, twice.
Yeah.
It's a great place to come and visit. It's a good day tripper place. I take your point, and it's very interesting. Martin said the Tories have let down small business.
Yeah.
I think Mark Walls is not feeling pretty happy with them either on tax.
No.
And I get that. But here's the question again. Would the Labour Party stand up for the small entrepreneur?
I don't know. I've never lived in a Labour Party government in the world, so I wouldn't know.
Wow.
But as I've heard you say today, and I don't know whether or not, because I don't really keep up with you, and this is the first time I've really heard about your policies. But if you're willing to stick up for the little man, you're willing to give tax cuts to the poor and tax the rich more, I'm down to vote for you, because you definitely sound like someone I could stand for.
I tell you what, I'm halfway there with you. The morning after the referendum, I stood on College Green and I said, this is a victory for the little people. Because that was how it felt to me. It was the little people, ordinary people, against the globalist establishment of, the Goldman Sachses and the Siemens Engineerings and all these people. Where I disagree with you is the proposal to cut income tax top rate was from 45p to 40. As Liam said, actually, in the overall scheme of things, in percentage
Was that
terms,
under Blair?
Yeah. It was 40 under all the years of Blair, absolutely. And yet that's been rejected, and yet a wealthy businessman or woman now can go to Italy, can go to Portugal, can go to France and get a good tax deal. So I would argue that if we overtax high earners, we end up actually getting less money in the coffers.
There's another point here, Nigel, to the young man's observation. You talked earlier about GBNews giving a platform for views that many, many people hold, which aren't fashionable among the sort of mainstream broadcasting club, if you like. That also applies to business. Politicians, they love big business. They love getting cushy jobs with big business after they've left.
And the lunches, the dinners.
They love going to sort of firms in the city and sitting in offices, not knowing what's going on, but just drawing a nice wage. And also, most media broadcast outlets, they think business is the Confederation of British Industry. They think it is the City. They think it is Goldman Sachs. We're trying to champion small businesses here on GBNews. We're trying to champion not what the CBI says, but what the British Chamber of Commerce says, the Federation of Small Businesses say. Because in my view, they are, well, it's true, they're just economically far more significant, and they're much more people. There's far more votes among Britain's small businesses than among Britain's big businesses. Yeah. And big business, they like the regulation because it ties the small guys up in knots, so the small guys can't rival the big guys. And if you want to be pro-competition, if you want to be pro-enterprise, that doesn't mean you should be pro-big business all the time. In fact, sometimes it means you should be against big business and more for the smaller guys.
Yeah.
And I think
I agree with
that's
that.
a message we have to get across.
Well, Very well said there by Liam Halligan. GB News is the People's Channel, and we are going to champion men and women that actually want to get out there and set up their own businesses, because frankly, at the moment, nobody else is on their side.